Hi, welcome to CS in Mathematics in Elementary School. I'm going to post a link in the chat to the workshop guide. For our, for our workshop, we are going to be using this workshop guide. So if you can look at your session column in the chat in the session that we are in and open that workshop guide, let me know when you have that open in the chat, and then I'll know you're ready for us to start our workshop today. My name is Jacki Reid, and I am the Vice President of Computer Science Education and Initiatives at MindSpark and the Code.org Regional Partner for Colorado and Utah. I'm going to show you guys what the workshop guide looks like if you are working on getting that open. This is what the workshop guide looks like, and you'll see slides here on the left with links to some of the activities we're doing or space for you to take notes and capture your thinking in this workshop guide. So on our introduction slide, my email's there, so if you ever need to reach out to me or have any questions, you can always find my email on this workshop guide. For our hour today, I want to set the stage of what our time is going to look like. We are going to create a computer science plus math choice board. And so that's our success criteria. By the end of our time, by the end of this hour, you should have started or almost finished a computer science and math choice board for elementary school for the classes that you teach. And also, during our time today, we're going to be capturing some of our learning on that workshop guide. You'll have to excuse my dog's barking in the background. I'm going to go on mute for just a second. To help set the stage for our workshop for this hour, there's going to be a lot of interaction and interactivity. So I'm going to be doing some talking, but I'm going to be asking you guys to do a lot of activities or article reviews. And this is our first one right here, this article view on math education, the roots of computer science. So we all know that math and computer science have strong connections. So let's think about why that actually is. We're going to take just about 3 minutes to skim through this article. If you have the workshop guide open, you'll see on the second row, there's a link to the article that'll take you directly to the math, the roots of computer science article. If you have any questions, just throw those questions in the chat or unmute. And I will start about 2 to 3 minutes for us to read that article. go ahead and find a stopping spot in that article. You have a link to that article, so if you ever want to come back to read that thoroughly, you can always do that, and I highly suggest that you do so. So think about this question: how are math and computer science connected from information that you read in Math Education, The Roots of Computer Science? When we think about computer science, we need to remember that computer science is also a science, and science is simply the word we use to describe a method of organizing our curiosity. This curiosity in computer science also emerges in computational thinking. So we're thinking about integrating computer science into math. We also should be thinking about integrating computational thinking into math because computational thinking is a natural problem-solving process within computer science. Let's take a really quick listen to this video, just briefly describing computational thinking for anybody that's not aware or certain on the main pillars of computational thinking.
So let's first talk about decomposition. Decomposition means taking apart a problem into its smaller pieces. You can decompose a drawing of a box
So some of those terms are some of the same terms we just read in the Math Education, The Roots of Computer Science. That article mentions decomposition, algorithms, abstraction. So these concepts of computer science are key when we're thinking about integrating computer science into our classroom, into our daily subject areas, just like math. So let's take a minute, and on your workshop guide, there is a link to Padlet, and I'm going to show you right where that is. So we are right here on this slide on our workshop guide, and it looks like the link to Padlet actually is not in there. My apologies, but I will pop it over in the chat right now. Let me copy and paste that. So what I would like for us to take a minute and do is to access this document on Padlet and quickly brainstorm, how does computational thinking occur in the classroom? What does that look like? Where do I naturally do decomposition with my students? When my students come in for the morning, their morning routine, am I teaching anything like an algorithm, a step-by-step process to them, pattern recognition, abstraction? So let's think about, where does computational thinking naturally already occur in your daily classroom, and add that to Padlet. The link is in the chat for Padlet. And I'll show you guys really quick how to use Padlet if you're not familiar with it. So once you click on that link in the chat, it'll pull up to the Padlet page. When you get here, you'll just click on the plus sign to type in a title and then a response to how computational thinking naturally occurs in your classroom, broken into these 4 categories. And we're going to take about 4 minutes to do this activity, 1 minute per section. You can always refer back to the Math Education, The Roots of Computer Science article as well while you're doing this. If you have any questions, just enter those questions in the chat, or feel free to unmute. Okay, go ahead and join us back on the video from that Padlet. Hopefully you had enough time to add your ideas to each one of those sections: decomposition, algorithm, pattern recognition, and abstraction. If you would like to share in the chat some of the ways you do decomposition in your classroom, abstraction, just in your daily routines or your procedures that you do with your students, please feel free to do so. I'd love to see what you guys are doing in your classrooms. Let's take a minute and see how other educators across the nation are integrating computer science into their classroom. Just for our time, we're going to skip over this activity, but there's a link to these articles here in your workshop guide of these Teacher of the Month articles. So I suggest you come back, check these out, but let's go ahead and move on to our math and computer science activity here. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing that I'm going to have you guys do is look inside a Scratch project and remix it. So inside your workshop guide, you'll see a Scratch slide here on the left. And then there's 3 projects I've already picked out for you guys: one on counting, one on addition, and one on subtraction. So you can pick any one of these that you want. And your job is to look inside the project, to remix it, as they say on Scratch, and make it grade level appropriate for you and your students somehow. So I clicked on the subtraction project. To remix it, you click on See Inside, and then now I can see all the codes. Down here in the bottom right corner, I can see all the different sprites or items that I have. So I can see 4 and what 4 is programmed to turn back and forth and say try again if it's clicked. If I click on 8, I can see 8 is programmed back and forth to say try again if it's clicked. When I click on the character, you can see what the character says, and the character is actually the one that is stating the word problem, the math problem, right? So he's asking about help for the donuts, counting the donuts, and then you're supposed to click on the answer to count the donuts. So you get to pick which math activity you're going to do first. If you want to search on Scratch for a different activity, feel free. These ones just are very easy to change the code on the inside, which is why we picked them for you guys. So let's go ahead and let's take 10 minutes to remix this activity and make it grade level appropriate for your students. So what would that look like to make this activity grade level appropriate for your students? We'll take 10 minutes to do this activity. If you need anything or have any questions, please just unmute or enter those in the chat. And the activities, again, are on the workshop guide right here. All right, go ahead and join me back on the video. I hope you guys created some cool Scratch projects and got to get started on remixing that project to be grade level appropriate for your students in your class. If you want to paste a link to your Scratch project in the chat, please do so. Unfortunately, we can't share our screens, but I would love to see the projects you guys created. So let's take a few minutes to think about these questions and enter these our responses in the chat. Or write them down on a piece of paper and then enter them in the chat or unmute, anything you'd like. So how can you engage students in this type of activity? So giving them a Scratch project and asking them to remix it. And what math unit would this activity align to for your students? So let's take a couple of minutes, think about this, and then enter those responses in the chat. For the rest of our time, we're going to be looking at creating a math and computer science choice board. So as I said at the beginning of this 1 hour, a lot of this time is meant for you guys to have some space to create these resources or these materials, or at least get started on them and get some ideas that you can bring back directly to your classroom and use with your students or with the teachers that you work with. So the different types of choice boards are, this is a choice board for any classroom right here. There's art, coding, addition, subtraction. So you see that there's math on here. And then there's some other robotics, building activities, reading activities. So you can create a math and computer science choice board that actually is very diverse, like this one. Or you can create a more traditional choice board. So this looks more like the choice board that I've created for my classroom, where it just might be on a Google Doc, or I've printed it out and it's a physical choice board. Another great type of choice board is the Bitmoji and the interactive classroom choice boards. So these really emerged during COVID, and these are really fun. You can create maybe 3 or 4 of these types of interactive choice boards where they're these interactive virtual classrooms. And then you can have them there for your students to use throughout the year. Maybe one at the beginning of the year with students, one for math that we're going to create today, and then maybe something else. And then Symbaloo is also another great option for a choice board that's going to be virtual. Students can access it anywhere. So that's another great option, and teachers get free accounts on Symbaloo. So let's take about 15 minutes and let's create that choice board. So the rest of our time here really is creating that choice board, and you have a ton of resources. So before we get started, I want to go over some of these resources in the workshop guide. So down here in your workshop guide, there's already some virtual computer science activities that we've pulled together for you for different grade levels and that are related to math. So for example, this grades 1 and 2, if you click on that link, I've got to open the setting for that one. So that one might not be a good one. Let me see if this other one's going to work. So I'll have to change the settings on 1 and 2, but on the 3rd and 4th grade, go ahead and start on 3rd and 4th grade or the 5th and 6th grade, and I will change settings on 1 and 2. But here you can see there's a ton of activities, and we've already connected them to standards. So you'll find all the different math standards in this document, and then you're going to find different computer science related activities that students can do that are related to that math standard. Okay, so we've already done some of that work for you. And that's on your workshop guide. Now below that, there's examples of choice boards of HyperDocs. You can sign up for Symbaloo, and there's also examples of choice boards here that you can change for your classroom, that you're free to use, copy, edit, change them up any way you would like. So we're going to spend the rest of our time. I would suggest starting with these documents, the 1st through 6th grade documents, to look for some math activities or some standards that you want to build your choice board around, and then just create a choice board. Feel free to use our examples or just create your own. And I'm going to start our 15-minute timer. If you have any questions, just reach out, unmute, and I hope you guys make these really great choice boards you can use with your kids next year. All right, I'm going to turn my mic off and my camera off. Let me know if you need anything or have any questions during this work time. Okay, I gave you guys a little extra time for that choice board work because we got a little bit ahead. And I hope you guys got some good work putting some of those choice boards together, some great activities for next year with your students. There are some great articles in your workshop guide about how to differentiate the learning on a choice board. So there's a link here on your workshop guide to this article, and I definitely suggest you guys come check that article out if you've got spare time later today after the conference or during lunch. And does anybody want to share in the chat one of the standards they covered on their choice board, or another way you chose to organize your choice board, or what type of choice board you chose to create? Well, that wraps up our session today. We're going to finish a little early, but maybe you guys could take a little 5-minute break before we head back to the stage. My contact information is on the slide. There's some ideas for CSPD. And then if you guys are anybody's writing grants out there, we do help support grant writing and thought partnership through computer science grants. Thank you guys for joining.